They say, the day a woman gives birth is the day she meets her soulmate for the very first time. The one she carried beneath her heart, loved before she even saw their face, and would protect until her last breath. But for me, that day wasn't about meeting my baby. It was about meeting the truth that the man who once swore to love me more than life itself had betrayed me in the cruelest way possible. And as I lay in that hospital bed, weak from labor and love, I looked at him with a calmness he would never understand. Because what he didn't know, what he could never imagine, was that I already knew everything, and I already had a plan. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and rain. The storm outside mirrored the one inside me, thunder rumbling faintly as if the world was trying to warn me of what awaited beyond these sterile walls. My body ached, my arms trembling as the nurse placed the tiny bundle in them. My baby, my little girl. Her cries were soft and hesitant, as though she already sensed the pain her mother was holding back. "Congratulations," the nurse whispered, smiling as she tucked the blanket around the baby's face. I managed to whisper a weak thank you, my eyes fixed on the small miracle I had brought into the world. I thought I'd feel pure joy, unbroken happiness. But instead, there was a heaviness in my chest, a shadow that refused to lift. The door opened quietly, and there he was. Daniel, my husband, my everything, or at least he used to be. His face carried the same charm that had once melted me, the same smile that used to make my heart race. But now, looking at him, all I felt was a strange emptiness. He leaned down, kissed my forehead lightly, and whispered, "You did it, love. She's beautiful." "She is," I said softly, avoiding his eyes. I knew if I looked too deeply, I'd see the lie there, the guilt, the distance, the secrets he thought he'd hidden so well. He stayed by my bedside for a few minutes, talking about the baby's name, her features, how she had my eyes. But even then, I could feel his restlessness. His phone buzzed twice, and each time his hand trembled as he silenced it quickly. I didn't need to see the screen. I already knew who it was. "I'll go home," he said finally, brushing my hair from my face. "Get the house ready before you and the baby come. Don't worry, I'll make everything perfect." Perfect. The word stung. I nodded, forcing a smile as he left the room, his voice fading down the hall. The moment the door closed, my composure cracked. My tears came silently, hot and bitter. I looked at my daughter and whispered, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's strong. Mommy will protect you." 3 weeks before this day, I had found out about her, Clara. She was his assistant, polished, ambitious, with a smile that lingered too long on him when she thought I wasn't watching. At first, I ignored it. I told myself I was overthinking, just hormonal. But then came the perfume, the faint trace of something floral and expensive on his shirt when he came home late one night. Not mine, never mine. Then came the message. He'd left his laptop open while rushing to shower. I wasn't looking for anything, but my eyes caught the preview on the screen, just one line, enough to shatter me. "I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Miss your touch." I had stared at those words until my vision blurred. My first instinct had been to scream, to throw things, to demand answers. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the baby kicking inside me, reminding me that I couldn't afford to lose control. So I didn't confront him. I waited, I observed, and the more I watched, the clearer it became. He wasn't just having an affair, he was building a second life. One he thought I'd never see. He took more business trips, came home smelling like her perfume, and started withdrawing from me, inch by inch, word by word. But I stayed silent. I smiled when he came home, cooked his favorite meals, asked about his day. I let him believe. I was still the naive, devoted wife who lived in his shadow. Because I needed time to decide how I'd leave, how I'd protect my child from ever depending on a man who could betray so easily. When he left the hospital that day, I knew where he was going. Not to prepare the house, but to her, to the same home we'd built together, to the same bed where I once dreamed of our future. The thought burned, but it didn't break me. I had already been broken. This was just confirmation. 2 days later, they discharged me. My body was weak, but my mind was steel. My mother offered to pick me up, but I insisted on going home alone. I wanted to face it, to see with my own eyes what kind of man I had been married to. The house looked perfect from the outside. Roses blooming along the porch, curtains drawn, lights glowing softly through the windows. But when I opened the door, the smell hit me first. Lilies, fresh ones, my favorite. Only I hadn't asked for any. My heart clenched as I stepped inside, the sound of my own footsteps echoing too loudly. And then I heard it, laughter, a woman's laughter. High, confident, echoing from the bedroom at the end of the hall. Every nerve in my body screamed in pain. My stitches throbbed, my vision blurred with tears. But I walked, slowly, deliberately, my baby's carrier in one hand, my heart in the other. The door was slightly open. I pushed it gently, and there she was. Clara, sitting comfortably on my bed, her legs crossed, wearing one of my silk robes. Her hair was damp, she'd just showered. My shower. Daniel froze when he saw me. His eyes widened in shock, guilt flashing across his face like lightning. "You're home early," he stammered, stepping forward. I looked around the room, the wine glasses on the nightstand, the half-burned candle, the blanket thrown carelessly across the sheets. My sheets, my home. "Yes," I said calmly. "The doctor said I could go home today." I didn't realize I'd be interrupting. Clara tried to speak, her voice trembling. This isn't what it looks like." I raised a hand. "Please, don't insult me further." Daniel moved closer, reaching for me. "Listen, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain," I said, my voice steady. "I just came to get a few things for the baby." He blinked, confused by my calm. I could see it unsettled him, how I wasn't shouting or crying, just composed. He didn't realize that calm is the final stage of heartbreak. The silence after the storm when love turns into ashes, and you finally stop trying to fix what's already dead. I picked up my daughter's blanket from the cradle, kissed her tiny forehead, and whispered softly, "We're going to be okay, my love." Then I turned to Daniel. His lips parted, maybe to apologize, maybe to beg, but I didn't give him the chance. "Take care of yourself, Daniel," I said with a small, hollow smile. "You'll need it." And with that, I walked out. Not just from the room, not just from the house, but from the life I'd once built around him. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was clear again, pale and soft, like a quiet promise. As I strapped my daughter into the car seat, I realized something. The woman who walked into that house had been broken, afraid, and betrayed. But the woman who walked out was something else entirely. She was free. And as I drove away, I didn't look back. Because sometimes survival begins with silence, and the calm that follows destruction is where true strength is born. They say time heals everything, but that's a lie. Time doesn't heal, it just teaches you how to live with the scars. The wound stays, it just stops bleeding so loudly. After that day, after I walked out of the home that once held all my dreams, silence became my only companion. But it wasn't an empty silence, it was powerful. It was the sound of a woman learning to stand again. The first nights were the hardest. Every creak of the floor in my mother's house, every baby cry in the middle of the night reminded me of the chaos I'd left behind. Sometimes I woke up thinking I heard Daniel's voice, only to find the room empty, my daughter sleeping peacefully beside me. That's when the truth would crash over me all over again. He wasn't coming back, and even if he did, I wouldn't open the door. He called me once the next morning, then again the day after. At first I let the phone ring until it stopped. Then I started turning it off altogether. He sent messages, long, desperate paragraphs about how sorry he was, how it didn't mean anything, how Clara was just a mistake. But the thing about mistakes is that you make them once. His affair wasn't a mistake, it was a choice, repeated, deliberate, and cruel. One afternoon about 2 weeks later, I was sitting by the window, rocking my baby to sleep. The sunlight spilled across her soft cheeks. Her tiny hands curled around my finger. She had his eyes. For a while that hurt, but then, as I looked deeper, I realized she also had something that was purely mine, peace. She didn't know pain yet. She didn't know betrayal. She only knew love. I made a silent promise to keep it that way. I found work again. Writing had always been my escape. Words were the only place I could untangle my emotions without judgment. I began freelancing from home, writing articles for small magazines, late into the night when my daughter slept. It wasn't much money, but it was mine. and with every word I felt myself piecing together again. Then one evening, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. My heart skipped when I read it. "Please. Just 5 minutes. I need to see you." It was Daniel. I didn't reply. But 2 days later, he came anyway. I saw his car from the window. Expensive, polished, but the man who stepped out of it looked like a ghost. His once neatly trimmed hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes red. He looked smaller somehow, as if the weight of his choices had finally settled on his shoulders. He stood at the door for a long time before I opened it. The moment our eyes met, the memories came rushing back. The wedding vows, the laughter, the quiet nights when I believed we were forever. It hurt, but the pain wasn't sharp anymore. It was dull, distant, like a memory that no longer had power. "I made a mistake," he said, his voice breaking. "Claire's gone. She left me. I deserve it. But please, let's talk." I held my daughter close and looked at him with the same calmness I'd had that day. "Talk about what, Daniel?" "About us," he said quickly. "I can fix this. I know I hurt you. But we can start over, for her." He pointed at our daughter, as if she were the reason I should forget everything. My heart twisted, but not because I wanted him back, because I realized how little he understood. "You didn't just hurt me," I said quietly. "You broke something you can never fix. You didn't only betray our marriage, Daniel. You betrayed the version of yourself that I believed in. You betrayed the man I defended, trusted, and loved. And that man doesn't exist anymore." He started to cry, soft, helpless sobs that might have moved me once. But now I only felt pity. Not for him, but for the woman I used to be, the one who would have begged him to stay. He stayed on the porch for a long time after I closed the door. I could hear his muffled voice through the wood, whispering apologies to no one, but I didn't open it again. I had closed that chapter for good. Life didn't magically get easier after that. Bills piled up. The baby got sick one night and I rushed her to the hospital alone, and sometimes I cried quietly in the dark, wishing things had turned out differently. But through all of it, I never once regretted walking away. Pain was hard, but peace was priceless. A year passed. My daughter grew stronger, her laughter filling every corner of my small apartment. She started saying her first words, "Mama," then "light," then "bird." Each sound was a healing note in the song of my new life. I no longer looked back. I was building something new, something just ours. Then one morning, I got a letter in the mail, my name written in a familiar hand. I almost laughed when I opened it. It was an invitation. Daniel and Clara's wedding. For a moment, I just stared at it. The paper felt heavy, the words sharp. My chest tightened, not with sadness, but with disbelief at his audacity. He had cried at my door, begged for another chance, and yet here he was, moving on as if love were something replaceable. I folded the invitation neatly and tucked it into a drawer. Then I took my daughter to the park. It was a bright day. The sky was endless blue, the grass soft under our feet. My little girl toddled clumsily, her hands reaching for butterflies she couldn't catch. And watching her, I realized something powerful. Revenge wasn't destroying someone. Revenge was becoming untouchable. That evening, I got another message from him. Just one line, "You were right. She left me." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I closed my laptop, wrapped my daughter in her favorite blanket, and drove to the beach. The sun was setting, spilling gold across the waves. She giggled as the wind brushed her hair, her small hands splashing at the edge of the water. I lifted her into my arms, held her close, and whispered, "This is what freedom feels like, baby girl." As I stood there watching the ocean swallow the sun, I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who believed love was about holding on no matter what. But love isn't meant to break you. It's meant to grow with you. And when it stops doing that, the bravest thing you can do is let go. I smiled then for the first time in a long time. Not because I was over him, but because I was finally back to me. They say calmness is weakness, that silence means surrender. But they're wrong. Calm I carried wasn't surrender. It was power. The quiet kind of power that doesn't shout or burn, but rebuilds. The kind of strength born from heartbreak, forged in loneliness and crowned with peace. Daniel never knew that. He mistook my silence for softness, my forgiveness for weakness. But he'll spend the rest of his life realizing that the woman he betrayed was never fragile. She was fire disguised as calm. And as the last light of day disappeared into the waves, I whispered to myself, "You did it. You survived." Because the day I gave birth wasn't the day my life ended. It was the day it truly began. The day I met my daughter, yes, but also the day I met the strongest version of myself, and that version will never kneel for anyone again.